Have you purchased a property in last 2-3 months? Prices have started to decline since then and interest rates have started to go up. You are thinking, can I back out of my deal? It's not as simple as it sounds, and there are consequences to it. And that is what we are going to discuss in this video, so stay tuned. Hello, this is Sonia, your local realtor with Remax Realty Specialist. Welcome to my channel where we love talking about real estate and all things in and about Greater Toronto area. And we would love to take you along the ride. So hit that subscribe button and the little bell icon so you get notified every time there is a new video uploaded. After soaring for the last couple of years, house prices in the Greater Toronto area and beyond are now falling back to earth. And that's left some buyers who bought when prices were at their highest looking to get out of their deals. But many of these buyers are finding that walking away from a bad deal is not as simple as they may think. We are noticing a recent upsurge in the number of buyers trying to renegotiate deals, usually after they realize the prices they have paid is more than the house is worth by the closing date. It is important to remember that there really is not much room for buyer's remorse in real estate. Once both the buyer and the seller sign a purchase agreement, they have entered into a legal contract. At the end of the day, once there is an agreement of purchase and sale that is signed and it's not conditional or the conditions have been waived, both parties are stuck with that agreement. And now I'm going to talk about the consequences of backing out of a purchase offer. As a buyer, it is imperative to remember that an offer is a legal contract. By walking away from it, you are leaving yourself open to numerous consequences, including losing your initial down payment deposit and even being sued. If a buyer is unable to complete the transaction after putting in an offer, they may be liable for much more than their deposit. Here is a scenario. Buyer A puts in an offer for $1 million and signs a contract, but the deal does not close. The homeowner sells to another purchaser for less than the original purchase price, let's say $900,000. The seller is within their right to sue buyer A for the difference in the value of the two deals. Buyer A may be on the hook for the $100,000 difference on top of the initial down payment. What happened here is the domino effect, whereby you breaching the agreement by not closing on time triggers a series of events where multiple parties then end up having to breach their other obligations. Legally, you may be on the hook for all of these damages or extra costs suffered by all parties as a result of your actions. The purchaser may also be responsible for any legal fee, mortgage carrying cost, lost deposit, decrease in the sale price if the property is relisted and sells for less, or any other actual loss suffered by parties. If the seller of a home is not able to carry out the purchase of their next home as a result of their purchaser's inability to close, the purchaser of their current home may be liable for losses from that transaction as well. It's a difficult decision to make, but if you are considering walking away from an offer, bear in mind there are options to avoid getting sued. The deals falling through right now are for homes that sold when prices peaked earlier this year. The main issue is that during the typical 60 to 120 day closing period, buyers' financing isn't coming through as lenders look at comparable homes and assign a valuation that's lower than what the buyer offered to pay just 1 or 2 months prior. In January and February, prices accelerated so quickly that there is really no way that valuation can keep up because now there are no closings to substantiate the values. People are typically purchasing at the maximum of their buying power, so in those cases, they typically choose to forfeit their deposit and walk away from the deal. When a lender's valuation comes in lower than the sale price, the borrower is responsible for paying the difference between the valuation and the sale price upfront, an option only accessible to those who have the cash on hand to do so. You have few options if your valuation does come lower than what you have paid, and that is happening quite a bit around this time. You can watch this video to see what are your options if your valuation does not come what you have paid for the property. But failed financing isn't the only factor. The sudden turn in the market has left some homeowners who purchased another home during the pricing peak before selling their old home in a sticky financial situation. With their old home less in demand and valued lower than what they thought it would be when they submitted an offer on the new home, they are left without the means to follow through the purchase. If you bought a house and you have to sell your old house, that's an incredibly bad problem. Now you go through to offer night on your home and there are no offers. If you had the sale of the property condition at the time of signing the contract, you are protected. Just in case you don't know what the sale of property condition is, I will explain it briefly here. A buyer makes an offer on home conditional on them selling their existing property during X period of time. If they don't sell their home during that period, the deal dies and the buyer gets their deposit back. If the buyer successfully sell their home during the time period, they waive the condition just like they would a financing condition or home inspection condition, and the home is considered legally sold and binding. This is a really good clause to include if you're thinking of buying a property in buyer's market. And now I'm going to discuss how to protect yourself if your property sells for less. It's common to purchase a new house before selling your existing property. But what if you're having difficulty selling your current property during the market slowdown? One way to handle this type of situation is through bridge financing, but you can only do this if you have a firm sale on your current property. Another possible solution to having two properties would be to turn one into a rental unit, depending on your situation. Rather than selling that property, you could convert into a rental property. You could then do a rental refinance so that you can access up to 80% of the current market value and then use that equity to help with your down payment on the new purchase. Private financing solutions are also available, but as a last resort. Keep in mind, interest rates are really high on private financing, but this will depend on your ability to support this debt. It is also possible to do what is called an blanket mortgage on the current home and the new home to assess equity. You could use that money as the down payment for the new home until you are able to sell your current property. If you have no other solution, you should always request seller for mutual release. Depending on how the market is and what are the chances of seller able to sell the house again for same money, you may get lucky, so it is worth a try. In the case where the parties agree to a mutual release or some other type of mutual agreement, you must ask, what is going to happen to the deposit? Will it be split, returned, or forfeited? In situation where the other party in your transaction is attempting to or indicating that they may not be able to close on time, continue to assert that time is of the essence so that the time frames in the agreement continues to govern the transaction and that your rights are protected. All of this should be confirmed in writing. As a last resort, you can try to negotiate a lower purchase price with the seller. The housing market can be a hard thing to predict, but if you have found yourself in a predicament that requires you to withdraw your offer, it is best to consider all your options before making a final decision. And if you're thinking of buying or selling real estate in Greater Toronto area, I'm just an email or a call away. Thanks for watching and don't forget to join me next week. Until then, stay happy and stay safe.